All right, the negative side, first counterclaim to significance was that the Iraqi military is significantly getting more secure and stronger as the U.S. stayed there, and by the time that 2011 hits, that the military was strong enough to stand on its own. And he guarantees this by saying the new U.S. policy guarantees that Iraq will be stable by the time stable enough by the time 2011 comes around. Well, if U.S. policy has shown us anything in the past few years, honestly, we cannot guarantee anything. Bush wanted to guarantee us that the Iraqi war would be finished quickly and efficiently, but that hasn't occurred. So the guarantee that the new policy will make Iraq strong enough by 2011 is not true, because humans are flawed and that policy can possibly be flawed too. He also guarantees that the government will be strong enough and stable enough by the time we leave. Well, as you know, a little leaven can leaven the whole lump. All it takes is one person or a few people to come together to destroy government or to cause corruption, and it requires all of the corruption to be taken out before government is stable enough to exist on its own. Joshua Hammer, an author and a freelance foreign correspondent, flew to Iraq last year and visited multiple Iraqi cities. And when he talked to one of the officers of the Charlie Company, and he said, Al-Qaeda is going to regroup and it will challenge whoever replaces us. So the officer of one of the groups of the armies assures us that Al-Qaeda will regroup, and what will occur if the U.S. isn't there to help Iraq aid the Iraqi government in in suppressing the Al-Qaeda movement. After talking to multiple officers, Joshua Hammer, this guy who flew to Iraq, affirmed that the feeling seems to be mutual. It's clear, he says, that scarred former battlegrounds such as Samarra have made remarkable progress over the past year and a half, but the sectarian tensions seem powerful enough to pull Iraq apart again. So he admits, yes, there are lots of improvements in multiple cities and battlegrounds have been calmed, but many of the generals feel as if pulling out of Iraq, the sectarian divisions will cause Iraq to stumble again. He also, the negative side, said the current policy will move from 140,000 to 25 to 50,000 troops, and because we're leaving 25 to 50,000 troops in Iraq, that will give the U.S. enough time to strengthen the Iraqi military and the government and train soldiers and police officers. Well, if right now we have 140,000 troops in Iraq, and still we're having problems, and still there's violence, and still there's corruption, what makes you think that taking out 90,000 of those troops and then just using the last 25 to 50,000 of the troops to train Iraqi military and to train Iraqi police officers will quickly solve the problem in less than, or in 2 years? The fact is that taking out about 60% of the troops and then assuming that efficiently and quickly will solve a problem doesn't make sense. It's already taken us 6 years to get to this point, and we've had way more than 25 to 50,000 troops there. Joshua Hammer, also, when he was in Iraq, mentioned that in February 2008, the U.S. Army's 101st Airborne Division signed a deal with two powerful Sunni tribes in the city Samarra, and 2,000 fighters, many of whom had previously been laying improvised explosive devices to kill American troops, were now put on the U.S. payroll. So the U.S. is effective in taking out the corruption and motivating the Iraqi men to serve his country for the true cause and to not be corrupt, and we're even getting some of their men to side for us and fight for us and to help Iraq gain a more stable and safer situation, and to take out our troops and to assume that all of the men will fight for Iraq and that it becomes stable enough. It doesn't make sense. We need the American troops to be there and to fight the people who are corrupt and eventually sign treaties with all of these groups and create a more stable military situation as well as a more stable social situation. And to restate the solvency, in my opinion, why stop doing what's effective? We have proven that the U.S. in Iraq is effective. For instance, Kenneth Pollock, a news writer for an online article, Brookings, stated the coalition's new embedded provincial reconstruction teams are working. Wherever we found a fully staffed team, we also found multiple Iraqi leaders and businessmen cooperating with it to revive the local economy and build new political structures. Now, these instances are very sparse and not that common yet, but the U.S. military presence is causing this to happen. Before the U.S. was there, almost no construction projects or social programs were being completed and taken up by the Iraqi government. But now that the U.S. troops are there, we're seeing progress in that area, and we need to stay there until the majority or all of the programs that are proposed are actually carried out. Odierno, that general, also stated and told Obama that even with the recent spike in bombings, violence is at its lowest level since 2003. But that's only because the U.S. troops are in Iraq. If we take out the U.S. troops, Iraq will become more unstable and will continue to crumble back to the way it was when we left, before we arrived. And Prime Minister Nuri al-Maliki urged foreign firms to return and invest in Iraq, saying improvements in the security situation meant the country was now more stable. Once again, we'll look at the Prime Minister of Iraq is saying that Iraq is more stable, but only because the United States are there. If we take our troops out within the next 2 years, Iraq will digress into a worse situation back to the way it was.